Hello there. How y'all doing tonight? 2 or 3 days late again. Late on top of late on top of late. So tonight, let's see. I'm recovering. I'm doing something a little different. Anyway. So yeah, let me cover the Diddy stuff before I get into this. So my source, I don't even know if I talked to you guys about my source yet. It might be in here, I don't know. My source with the Diddy stuff has been reading Kim Porter's book, the alleged Kim Porter's book. Somehow came out on a flash drive, supposedly, on her show, my source. Kim's Last Words is the name of it. It's for sale on Amazon, and I heard from what I heard today, she gave a flash drive to a bunch of her friends because she felt like she was going to get killed. Anyway, it's at Amazon, Kim's Last Words, and in my opinion, this book is what got her killed. I mean, not killed. I mean, it gave her the pneumonia and tetanus, and then she had feces, stuff that's found in feces in her blood during the autopsy. Pac and Puff, this is exclusive right here, I'm starting out with this. In the book, it alleges Pac and Puff, back when they were friends, they were fucking. Puff and Al Green, and Kim, Jamie Foxx, and I think both of them. Puff was fucking Mary J. Blige. Who else? Puff he made Faith Evans get with Biggie, and I think they got married. Because Puff knew that Big was leaving, you know. He had people everywhere. He had info from everywhere. He knew he was betraying him by leaving. I'll tell you one more thing at the end. But the book is crazy, man. She's been reading chapters every day, and it just says all kinds of stuff. But I've heard one person already complaining that, I think it was Al Green, yeah, said the part with him is false. Of course, you're gonna say that. You don't want to be called out as being a fag. I mean, homosexual. I mean, queer, gay guy, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it talks about, it goes into some detail about some shit too. About, that was the first time that, because Al Green is Kim's ex, who she got kids with, something like that. And Puff took over as dad, kind of. But it's the first time she's seen Puff, I guess, want to get fucked or do some really gay shit, and she was super uncomfortable with it, and had second thoughts and everything, and talked about all the time she was trying to leave and stuff. Anyway, I'll get back to that at the end. Like I'm saying, I'm giving you exclusive shit, not, you know. Alright, I'm gonna start doing my story, because I've been watching a lot of stuff, and it just kind of inspired me, you know what I'm saying? Alright. I was born in St. Louis, lived there with my parents on the south side until I was a couple years old. My parents didn't like populated areas at all, so we moved to Ellisville, which is just as populated. Baldwin area on Manchester Road. Back then, maybe it wouldn't. This upstairs apartment was owned by my grandpa, along with at least 8 or 9 other properties or houses between Illinois and Salem. This is when my parents, I guess, were broke, because they would have normally took a house. I heard we were super broke when I was young. I don't know. 8 or 9 other properties or houses. Oh, my grandpa, all the properties he owned between Illinois and Salem, Missouri. And that's just what I know about. That was then. 25 years later, he owned at least double, maybe 3 times that many properties. But let me get back on track, because I forgot. This is the shortest version of my life story. Lived in this apartment for another year and a half, something like that. I was still a baby, so I don't think I remember this place. I didn't start having memories till the next place, which is before my parents bought a 3-bedroom small house, a small 3-bedroom house with a fenced-in backyard in the middle of the Pacific. Obviously, this is where, you know, my heart has always been, and I've lived in Pacific at least 5, I think closer to 10 different times, most as an adult, you know, moving around. This is where my childhood was, and where I went to school, etc., etc. Some of my first memories were bugging my dad about beer. You know, first memories about my dad, I guess. Some of them, not all of them, because he never was without a beer in his hand. I mean, all day and night. He would put Jack Daniels in his coffee before work. He'd always have a beer in his hand, or a fifth, or a pint, something. I was 4 or 5, and he'd give me a drink of his, you know, a couple drinks, whatever. He'd give me a little sip of whiskey sometimes too. He's, you know, he was out about it, whatever. That was at like 4 or 5 years old. I just thought it was cool because my mom was against it. I've always rebelled, I guess, against her, or people saying I couldn't do stuff. I was 7 years old at a family reunion, which we always had, like twice a year or something, on top of every holiday party and birthdays and stuff. I was 7 years old. My parents and uncles said I could drink, so I took advantage of that. Yeah, I had to write stuff down. My brain doesn't work great anymore. My cousins and I obviously did. I had all girl cousins. We were like brothers and sisters, honestly. I mean, we were born together at the same time. Me and one of my cousins were like 8 days apart. And anyway, my cousins and I obviously did, but kept doing it more often than my parents knew. Every family gathering, birthdays, any get-together, there were several coolers full of different liquors and beers. Sometimes like 20 big-ass coolers, because we had big parties back then. Like big coolers. One instance, back up a couple years of preschool. This is when everybody, including myself, realized something was definitely different about me. I was one of 2 out of maybe 20 or 25 kids that refused to interact with the other kids. I was very quiet. So, I was very quiet. The other kid that didn't interact wasn't. He was a dick, in my opinion. I hated him. Recess, I remember he didn't really mess with you, but if you were in his way or something, he would be, you know, try to be a bully or something. Recess, he kept fucking with me, and I forgot exactly what he was doing, but it was like 2 times he did it. I was pissed, so the 3rd time he did it, I attacked him and cut his face with a Hot Wheel that was in my hand when I made a fist to punch him, and I wouldn't stop beating him. I wanted him dead, honestly, not just hurt, and I did. I vaguely remember this. I told the teachers that, and my parents, and a couple, I told my teachers that I wanted him dead, so, you know, I wouldn't hide them. A couple days later, I had to start seeing counselors, or a counselor. Several other things. What? There were several other things. I don't know what I did. There's a lot of other childhood stuff, but I need to get to adulthood in this short video because this is my short one. I'm going to make a medium one and then a really long one, and that's going to be the thing. Adulthood. I was always quiet and shy and awkward, I guess. I mean, so quiet and shy, unless I was drinking. I had my 3rd vehicle by the time I turned 16 and got my license the day after I turned 16. Started driving to school, and before long I was partying every night, going out drinking. Already tried meth the year before in the bathroom at my school. I went to an alternative school, and I walked in on some guys snorting lines, so they gave me one. And I liked it better than weed, because weed was the only thing I had done at that point. So I remember, I'm like, I kind of like this. Back then it was called crank. It was only in hydrous and biker crank. Like, yeah, I just remember we all called it white Dover crank all the time. Like, it's evolved so much into something different and not nearly as good in my opinion. But beside the point. Shortly after that, I was unable to find some, like, because I buy it occasionally or whatever, pretty occasionally. I was able to find some meth, so I bought coke because somebody had that. Love that shit too. Mind you, 10th grade, I'm getting drunk every day, because that I'm not getting cranked, because I didn't like to do the both, because, I don't know, I'll explain stuff later in detail. Yeah, but I was drinking and wasted pretty much every time that I couldn't find meth, or I just wanted to change, switch it up or whatever. I smoked weed pretty much daily, but that was just boring by that time, because I've been doing it for a couple years. 11th grade, I graduated. I guess I graduated. 11th grade, I tried crack for the first time, and mushrooms for the first time. Crack was cool. Mushrooms are alright. I wish they would have been better, I guess, because I've only done them a couple times in my life. That's something I would probably maybe try again. I'm not sure. 12th grade, I was a full-fledged, like, hardcore alcoholic by my by 17, 18 years old. Seriously, like a fifth or two of vodka a day. Oh, if you're wondering how I got it, if you could drive, you could buy alcohol through a drive-through window right out of town. Like, so we all knew that. We all did it every day. Anyway, and it was cheap Congress vodka. I mean, I was drinking it every day. Okay, I was explaining it there, but I did not explain it here. I tried opium, like a ball you light on fire, put a jar over, and then suck out all the smoke. It was kind of weird. And I tried acid, but it didn't do anything. Thank God, because I'm scared to death of it nowadays, which I am. I'd been drinking all day on my graduation, wasted by the time I walked across the stage. But I was always wasted, so it was like being normal, in my opinion. I had a couple of minor possessions already. And after graduation, another one. I was already on bench probation, so kind of facing trouble. Then I got a DWI. Had three total vehicles, and they knew I was drunk on a couple of them, and they didn't give me the leaving scene of an accident, which I'm surprised. There was blood and alcohol all over the car. Like, 3 totaled cars, bad, pretty good accidents, and a lot of drunken fights, and all by 19 years old. Decided drinking's getting me into too much trouble. Replaced alcohol with meth, because then it was everywhere, and I always knew where to get it. I had a lot of friends that sold it and everything. I worked with the school district from 18 to 21, and by then, was helping a meth cook sell, get supplies, cook. Back then, you go get pills, go get this and that, whatever. And I was helping them get everything together, and then I was helping them cook too. But I was doing this so often that I retired from the school district. I retired at 21 years old, and got my retirement money. Sunk it into. I'll talk about that more in the big thing. After a year or so, I guess I say something here, damn. Booked out a grand or so by him, and met T. Now, T will be in my book a lot. We became best friends, but this is when I first met him. I'd heard about him for a while. He was only 17. I was like 21, 22 at this point. He moved to Pacific from California. And I'd already heard, about him. Met him finally after hearing so much. I'll explain more in that. He threw me a bag of dope for a ride like 2 miles away. After that, we started hanging out daily. This kid was getting big money and big dope. Never seen this amount by that time. Like a gallon freezer bag full of meth, full of big shards of meth. I'm trying to think how many pounds that would be. You know it's more than a pound. Anyway, it was like full, like bulky fucking. Damn, you're gonna put it in a fucking Walmart bag or Dollar General bag. Yeah, like I said, big money, big dope, guns, cars. Never seen somebody with as many bitches either, and that was cool for me because me driving them everywhere and working with them. His bitches was my bitches. I didn't like my bitches being his bitches, but I did all that later in the other thing. But you know, it's whatever. It is what it is. I would allow it after a little bit, you know, with certain girls. You know what I'm saying? But we're always picking up different girls. So I always had one or two or whoever, because his girl usually had a friend or two. Didn't matter because we basically, shared him anyway. Whatever. He was a gangster. I mean, in my opinion, or what? Back then, I mean, I don't know. He technically wasn't, but he was gangster to our town. Like, people in Pacific really, at this time, hadn't seen anyone like this. I say he was a gangster because he was living in Pacific, just living like he was still in California. And I guess it was more common out there at the time. Now it's, you see it everywhere, but he was still at a place at the time that we were always noticed and stared at. With as much as he was selling and giving out, he or we or whatever had lots of friends, but even more enemies after a little while, because all the different chicks mostly that was coming with us, a lot of them either had boyfriends or left boyfriends to come with us. They liked dope, basically. I think that's the thing, because none of us, neither of us were like gorgeous or nothing. Money and dope. We played God. We played God with it. I've done that a lot in my life. Anyway, and they did that to either get fucked by us or fucked up by us, which is probably what it was. I remember we got jumped. We retaliated. Did something I can't talk about yet. Then got our cars in his mom's house shot up. We both started wearing. He was already wearing a vest. He got me to start wearing a vest all the time. He'd already got hit once. Anyway, so we also stayed strapped. He gave me a gun. I already had a rifle, but he needed a pistol. Easier to hide or whatever. Shit just kept getting like deeper and deeper over the next couple of years. And gangs, by the way, were always hanging around, like even Bloods and Crips. He had so many people like coming to him because he always had a shitload of dope, and he wasn't just selling, it wasn't just meth either. Weed, GHB. I didn't even write that on here. GHB is the date rape drug. He always had that on hand too, and nobody knew anybody from Pacific was fucking with that. But there's a fucked up part. He would sell it, but we would do it. Like, we normally wouldn't even give it to the chick. We would drink it ourselves because it's not a drunk feeling, but like it's a really. Anyway, I'll get into all this stuff more later. Oh, he's also selling, anything he could sell. He's always trying to make money. He's a hustler. I give him that. He's one of the biggest money makers I've ever seen. ahead, damn it. Oh, it's okay. With all the stuff we're doing, cops were occasionally coming by his house to try to talk to him about this or that, but he either wouldn't come. His mom was. I mean, he would keep his mom supplied with dope. He wasn't, making money off it. He was paying the house payment. Like his mom and sister lived there at the time, back in these days, and I pretty much lived there. And he always had different girls or whatever and friends over. She just kept getting deeper. So he started stealing cars because I guess he had a rush out of it. I don't know. Like a few cars. Like I remember from the dealership, and I think he didn't give me details a lot, but somebody gave him the key, and he knew which dealership it was, and he'd go take it. This is before cameras was everywhere, so very doable. I remember this Mazda Millennium he had parked at my house because he had to go steal another one or something else, and he left it there too long, and somebody told, or I don't know what happened exactly, but cops came, run a VIN number and everything, but they didn't do nothing that day. They came back the next day, but by then, like the day they first came, asking this, I'm like, I hope not. I mean, I wanted him to get it out of here for a while. It was in my barn, or it was right next to it. They came back the next day because it was stolen. It was gone. He got it late that night. They were trying to question me about it and everything. Anyway, I got all this. So they'd already been getting texts about him like crazy. And that was the first time the cops were really coming to my house, like getting it hot. A couple other things till I finally. Okay, so there's a few other instances that happened. Actually, a lot more, and I'll get into that more in the next one. This is a short one, like I said. I ended up kind of splitting. He went to jail for a couple months, like a city jail type thing, because they'd been fucking looking for him for a minute. They finally caught him outside his house. I forgot what this was over, but I'll have to get back to you on this. I forgot what this time was over, but he was always talking about a good connect ain't locked up. They're not, they're low key, even though he wasn't low key at all. The cops, the whole fucking town knew what we were doing. Here he is, 17, 18 years old, selling more dope than anybody I ever seen. Selling more dope than the people who were like meth cooks and meth dealers for a lifetime. That's their career. They're not selling as much as this kid's selling, like crazy. But he's giving away a lot too, and doing it to dope wars and paying me with it. So he wasn't making near as much money as he should have been, but still he made enough to keep buying it every week. And I'm not going to say where he's getting it yet, but that later will become a big thing. In fact, I think that might be the reason he got locked up, but there's no evidence, so I know that he didn't get charged or nothing with that. And I know I'm leaving a lot of stuff out, but it's important for me to leave it out because I got to have it for later, and I got to think about this because there's laws and stuff I got to go by. By the way, what you just see me snipping, I did that because this is my last 24 hours of being hooked on fentanyl. Tomorrow morning or afternoon, I'm going to run out. There's only like just over one left. And I just cut down to one a day now, so by tomorrow night at this time, I'll be out completely. So it's going to be hell. It always is. But this time, I've weaned myself down, which is a good thing. I had clonidine and Xanax. I still got meth. I'm going to wait another week or so to quit that, even though I probably won't feel like doing none after I quit the fentanyl and start getting sick. If I get sick, I don't know. But some people are saying I won't. Only doing one pill a day. I was up to like 7 to 10 pills a day, which is enough to kill like 100 something people. I'll give you the statistics later. But back to this. Sorry I keep jumping around. That's why I did that on here, because tomorrow is my last day doing it. Kind of fucked up about it. So I had to split with him when he went to jail. Well, I just realized quit talking to him. Okay. I partnered with a cook that I'd known and dealt with a little bit, but not much. Partnered up with him. He was different. He's dead now, this guy is. He was an older guy. He was like, I was 23. Around this time, 23, 24. This guy was 40, 44, yeah, about 40 to 45 years old. And he'd been doing this his whole life. Only got busted once about a year before. He was still out on bond, trial and waiting on trial and everything. Still selling, but being way more cautious than he was. So he only cooked like once a month, but weekly he would go buy a decent amount, I guess, a couple ounces or something, which was tiny compared to what we were messing with. He'd buy it from Richwoods, which is a different world. I'll explain that some later. Richwoods, Missouri. It's where Sean Hornbeck lives, and was kidnapped from by Michael Devlin, the Missouri Miracle, as they called it. He had Sean Hornbeck for like 4 or 5 years, then kidnapped Ben Omby from right next to where I was living. Shortly after that is when he got caught. And he'd been living in the same apartment in St. Charles, like close to St. Louis. Richwoods is a fucked up place, man. I know. I'll tell you some stuff later. I'll have an episode about it or something. That's where murders don't get solved at. That's where bodies were being found pretty often. That's where a lot of crazy shit happened. Probably one of the more backwoods, scary places to, I think, in probably all the surrounding counties of where I was hanging out at. Anyway, so he'd buy like an ounce or two, which was 4 at the most, because he was doing way smaller things than Tyler was. So it was like a completely different world. He'd break me off, quarter of what he had, quarter to half, because I was like his only dealer at the time, because he liked to keep stuff. He trusted me. I knew him for a few years. So I'd sell for him, and this wasn't enough. So I partnered with the second cook, not telling him about it, who did much bigger things than he did, way more often, like 3 times a week or something. He just loved cooking. So, so smaller cooked, but always having dough, always decent amounts or whatever. After about 6 months of hanging out with this guy, problems arose. But even before that, 6 months was up. Maybe 3 months after I started with the second guy. The first guy, that's when problems started with him too. And I'm going to get into that more tonight. So I'm not going to keep you waiting on that. So I wanted to get to the exciting stuff, but really I haven't yet. And you'll see why after the next one. So this one's going to be pretty boring. This one has been pretty boring, pretty lame. The next one I'm going to start getting to some shit. Now, there's some stuff I'm not going to be able to give a lot of details on, because the next one will involve way more serious stuff. A lot of, more cooking, drug trafficking, a lot of distribution, but there's also going to be rape. A lot of instances of rape or sexual assault, a lot of violence, and some kind of gang stuff. Our clique against this clique and this clique, whatever. crazy shit happened, like some Breaking Bad type shit. There is even several, I don't want to say several, a few, more than 2 or 3 murders that these ones still are not solved. So this is why this is going to be a touch area, because I got to look up some stuff too while I'm writing this, which I'm going to write it right now. Because I know this stuff is serious, and I don't know how YouTube, I don't know. The cops know about it, and I've been questioned about everything, and this was a lot of years ago, but it just gets crazy. My story gets crazy. And then if you'll notice, over the 20-25 years that I've been on drugs, I'm good for a couple years, trying to stay off them, but then I always go back, and every time I go back, I go so hard that I downward spiral. And the crimes do this. They keep escalating and getting worse and worse crimes. And to the point, like, even kidnapping and shit is in the next one, and just the most serious shit you can think of, honestly. And some very dramatical, I'm going to talk about it right here. I'm just going to give a summary of what's going to happen. I wanted to at least get to the couple, like I just said, of exciting, dramatical, and fucked up parts. So I apologize that I wasn't able to, but I will tonight. I promise this time. I'm going to work on it right now. I take way too long to do stuff. This is a very brief summary of my life story. Part 1, take an hour break to do some other work and go do something and work on this, which won't take long to work on this. Now that I've recorded this, I'll be working on part 2. Should take an hour or 2 of those. My goal is to do that and to be done by 10:30. So take care. God bless. Did I cover the Diddy stuff? What did I say? Where did I leave off at? Oh yeah, the Diddy shit is crazy. And this is from 2 nights ago I was supposed to do this. So there's been a lot of updates since then. Like yesterday I was writing down stuff, a few things. Today I wrote down a few things. But now people are trying to say the book is not hers. How does she know so much though? Because when I tell you more stuff about that, you'll see why and I'm sorry to go from my story to the Diddy shit, but the Diddy shit is probably bigger than any scam, whatever you want to call all this stuff that's going on, if you're even following it at all. The whole Jeffrey Epstein thing? This blows that out of the fucking water, This is way more fucked up. Diddy has every celebrity, not every, 85%, 80, 85%, 90% even maybe, in some ways affiliated with Diddy. Diddy is like the gatekeeper for rap music, rap and R&B. So he's the devil. Like the stuff that I keep hearing and reading about him, and I don't think he does know. I know he don't have no remorse. He's mad now because he's sitting in jail, and that's why they won't give him a bond. It's because of how fucking fucked up this dude is, man. And he's the book. Oh, I forgot to even mention because I want to get the words right. I'm gonna watch the thing again and put it in there. But he was talking about bragging about all the people that aren't around no more because they pissed him off or were trying to get in his way. So he had them taken care of.